Hello guys, today I'm gonna teach you how to import another JavaScript file, or in other words a module in the browser. So first of all, we need a server or a machine where to run our code. So I'm gonna create my server in Node.js with Express, simple redirecting all the traffic from the root path to my static files in the folder, and then listening in the 3000 port. In the index.html, I just have a template and not so much. So I source my home.js script, but I have a note here, and the note says you can only import a model inside another model, so it's important to set the type to model in the tag. Normally, when you import or create an inline script in HTML, you will get this type, the that's slash JavaScript type. But what happens if you import something inside that JavaScript? You will get a syntax error in the browser saying that you can't import a model inside, I don't know, maybe a runtime JavaScript, and you can only import a model inside another model. So for that to be possible, you need to actually set the type to model in the way you can import other files, or aka models. Remember that and take that in count. So we have the file where I import everything, but first we need to watch or take a look to the file where I export. So we need to use the keyword export aside what we want to export. In my case, I want to export this object with his methods, or with its methods. I have an object, as you can see here, called my functions, and this object has a couple of methods. Say hello, are you hungry, what's your name. So as you can see, also I have the type of the variable, a const variable. You need to put the export keyword first, then if it's a variable, you just type the type of the variable, maybe var, let, or const, and then you pass the object, right? After that, you can also export functions. As you can see, first export, then the keyword function, and actually the name of the function, right? You can do the same as here, just putting our anonymous function after the equal, but this is a simple way, so don't worry about that, you can do that also. And then you have another keyword, the default keyword. The default keywords allows you to doesn't deal with an object when exporting. You will know that in a moment, so don't worry. You just need to have in mind that with the default keyword you will not have to think about an object and only a single thing. Then I have another section called side effects. The side effects when we import a model is that we actually execute that model, so we are not just exporting the functions and only that, we are actually executing the code. So if we import something, we will also execute what does that model do outside the things that we export. So take that in mind, and let's go to the file where we actually import the things. When you import something, you actually are executing that file's code, but you don't have that file's scope, so you can access to it. This is only to execute that file's code and don't import anything. If you only want to execute the other file's code, you just use the import keyword, and then the path of the file, right? In my case is the function.js file, and nothing more. You just use the import keyword and the path, and that's all. You execute the code. As you can see, I'm gonna comment this so you can actually see that with this I will execute the code. Let me comment this too. Okay, my server is running. I'm gonna reload the page, and as you can see, I have the model was called. Why I have this? Because I imported the model but didn't store anything from it, just executing that, and at the end of the model I have this side effect. So when I import, I get that side effect no matter what I do, right? And that's all. Let me just uncomment. No, this not. Let me uncomment this and this. Okay. So let me uncomment this too. Okay. As you can see, I am going to try to call the second function. In the other file, the second function is a function that will log this is a second function text. So we will not be able to call this because we don't have the scope of that file, but just to prove that, I am going to try to do that, and if there is an error, I'm gonna catch it and log can't run second function. Let's see. And as you can see, after the model was called, we got can run second function. So that demonstrates that we can actually access to the other's file its scope, if we not store its variables or actually import and specify what variables we are going to use. And after that, I have a note here. Imagine that when you export something, it stores it in a big object. So when imported, you can deconstruct that object. For example, import and the deconstructing with the brackets, the curly braces. So I deconstruct my function and rename it to Pepe in my file, and from my big object. So let's say that the big object is the file actually. I am just constructing that and renaming it to Pepe. I can also add something more with a comma as a normal deconstruction. If you don't know what is a normal deconstruction in JavaScript, you should Google that because it's very useful. Then importing the property market as default. So you can also import the property marked as default. I am going to do something. Let me just copy this, remove this, and doing this. No, let me copy this, move this, and doing this. Yep, to be more organized. So after importing the my functions property of the imagine you have a big object, so of the big object I'm renaming it to Pepe. I can actually execute the methods that Pepe or my function has. So remember that my function is an object that has these three methods. So we can execute that because Pepe is equal to my functions, and I have that I have access to its methods. I can execute, say hello, are you hungry, and what's your name. So if we reload, we get hello beautiful world that comes from say hello. As you can see here, we got just I am hungry, please feed me from are you hungry method right here. Just my name is Pepe, and a smile face from the what's your name method, right? So that's how it works. Then we go to the default keyword. You can import the property mark as default. As you can see, I'm only using the import keyword, then the new name of the default, and the from keyword, and the actual file. So let's say this, if we only call this without the constructing or anything, we will get the default, and the default we want to rename it to this name. So that is what we are doing right now. We are returning the default from here without the constructing and renaming to this name. So the function that before was I am default, as you can see here, the name is I am default. No will be named my default because I imported with that name. And if I execute my default, as you can see, reload again, I am default will be logged, and I am default is a logging of I am default. Okay, it's a little tricky. Then finally we go to the import all the properties, and as you can see, with the same example, imagine that this is a very big object. So when you do import keyword, then the asterisk, you are telling the code, hey, I want to import all the properties. Then when you use as keyword, you are assigning it to my export. So it's like saying, hey, I want to import all the properties and then assign all the properties to this new object called my export, and it will create an object called my export, and this my export object will have all the properties that you exported. So for example, it will have my functions, it will have these methods, it will have the default too, and so on. And that's how we work to import everything and assign it to a new object. I hope it's useful, and as you can see, here is how it works. Thank you so much. Bye bye.